Get your mother-loving ears on because your big-time radio DJ's got news. PayPal lets you choose how you want to pay for all the stuff. With PayPal, I can pay in-store, pay online, or pay over time. What's that? You want this translated into song? I hope you're sitting down. You can pay your own way. You keep those ears on, you hear? Don't just pay, baby. PayPal.
Learn more at paypal.com.
Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish Podcast. It is me, Jim Hill, and this is our show for the week of Schmurz Day, December 1st, 2025. And just so you know, because Len's in Palm Springs, as is Drew Taylor, and Nancy's away in Kansas City, it's just me by my lonesome this week. That said, I myself just got back for a week down in Orlando, where I then got to see all sorts of interesting things. As Len, Jim Shull, and I wandered around Walt Disney World, the resort, and recorded a brand new set of walk-around shows in the parks. Some of these recordings you'll get to hear here. I want to say our IAPA show, where Mr. Test and Mr. Shull and I explored the Orange County Convention Center, just as the 2025 editions of the Attractions Expo was getting underway. There were supposedly 9 miles of aisles on display there. My feet certainly felt like it. That show, I believe, got posted here last week as a special edition of Disney Dish. A number of those other recordings, well, they'll pop up over on Disney Unpacked, our Patreon project. We'll let you know more as Eric Hersey, our producer here at Disney Dish, moves those shows through the editing production process. And we then decide what podcasting and video shows will wind up where. But that said, I had some solo adventures while I was down at Walt Disney World. Take, for example, what happened on Friday night, November 21st, my very last night in town, where I finally achieved something I've been trying to do since, well, this place first opened in March of 2015. I finally got into Trader Sam's Grog Grotto at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort. I'll tell the story later on today's show, but first, I want to thank all of those who subscribe to the various projects that Mr. Testa, Mr. Shull, and I have up and running. This time around, I'd like to offer a special thanks to Ed, Krista, Sarah, Tyler, and Ken. These are the brave folks who now have the unenviable task of patrolling the route of this year's Christmas tree stroll at Disney Springs. And why is this an unenviable task? Well, it would seem that the cast of Pixar's next feature-length film, Hoppers, which is largely made up of beavers, are very unhappy with the profit-sharing plan that the makers of this new full-length animated feature, which, by the way, arrives in theaters March 6th of 2026. They're unhappy with this profit-sharing plan that they've worked out with Disney. So, in an effort to bring the mouse's representatives back to the negotiating table, these beavers have vowed to eat at least one tree found along the route of the Christmas tree stroll in Disney Springs every night until they get a profit-sharing deal more to their liking. So far, Ed, Krista, Sarah, Tyler, and Ken have been able to thwart the cast of Hoppers. But as the crowds grow at Disney Springs, as we now enter the busy holiday shopping season, it's actually beginning to be harder to pick those beavers out from, well, all of the other short, squat tourists with flat tails who are typically standing in line outside of Gideon's Bakehouse waiting for fresh cookies. Anyway, before we get to this week's news, I want to take a moment to acknowledge our sponsor. And the Disney Dish News is sponsored by UnlockMagic.com, the very same folks who run the DVC rental store. And the holidays are typically when families start to talk about, well, their next trip to Central Florida. And if you'd like to get discounted admissions to the Disney parks, as well as the ones down the street at the Universal Orlando Resort, well, the nice folks at UnlockMagic.com can help you score tickets to those theme parks for prices that are often 10 to 12% less than you'd pay elsewhere. So Be sure and check out unlockmagic.com before you then spring for your admissions media to Disney or Universal, okay? And now, well, I have a note to share with you folks from Mr. Testa. This just came in from Palm Springs via passenger pigeon. I have to say, this is one handsome bird, a very tan, wearing a tiny little sweater with leather patches on the elbows, and not exactly sure how he flew wearing that thing. But anyway, here's what Mr. Testa has to share in his note. Every show should begin with a round of self-congratulations, and boy, we got a few this week. On the September 8th, 2025 edition of Disney Dish, we read an email from Dr. Peter Luce with what appeared to be a Disney Paris ticket calendar blip, which showed a huge price increase for tickets on March 29th, 2026. And we speculated at that time that this would be the date that Disneyland Paris would open the world of Frozen. And verily, it has come to pass this last week when Disney announced that the World of Frozen would in fact open at Disneyland Paris on March 29th, 2026. Then, back in February of 2025, Mr. Testa was mentioned in a Wall Street Journal article that described how Disney prices its theme parks for the top 20% of U.S. households by income. And that prompted Disney to commission an entire survey that said that people who can afford to visit the parks find visiting the parks affordable, which is part of a huge PR push to stress that Disney wasn't just for rich people. And then on the December 16th and the December 23rd, 2024 Disney Dish, we mentioned that Disney was moving to dynamic ticket pricing for hotels and tickets in Disney World and Disneyland. And that got picked up by some of the financial press, and you could hear the gnashing of teeth from Disney corporate in Burbank all the way down where Len lives in Celebration. And by the way, I cannot emphasize enough how much Disney pushed back on both of those stories. It was an all-out effort across multiple parts of the company. And then, at a Wells Fargo summit held less than 2 weeks ago, Disney CFO Hugh Johnston just came out and confirmed all of it. Here's the quote. We are actually investing in creating dynamic pricing. We are doing it in Paris right now, and we've been doing it for about a year, and it's off to a good start. Again, this is from Disney CFO Hugh Johnston. And Johnson said Disney's domestic parks tend to be at the higher, income deciles, and that these consumers continue to do well. And that he connected that stability with steady attendance trends, strong per cap spending, and positive booking indicators headed into fiscal 2026. And by the way, this info comes from WDW Magic's coverage of this Wells Fargo's summit. And Mr. Testa then goes on to say, Jim, I need you to imagine for a second what the reaction was in Disney's media relations room when they heard these comments, probably for the first time. A couple of interesting follow-ups from Hugh Johnston's comments. Was this a planned leak? Or was this Johnston just speaking off the cuff? For him to come out and say that Disney's been fighting for the entire year feels either intentional or, just a case of somebody saying the quiet part out loud. By the way, folks, expect Mr. Testa, when he returns from his trip to Palm Springs, to expand on this dynamic pricing things. And speaking of returning, when we get back from this break, I will talk more about some of the stuff I saw during my most recent trip to Orlando. But first, this.
This episode is brought to you by McAfee.
Swimsuit, passport, phone with VPN activated.
VPN?
Cell phone service is going to be spotty on vacation, so we'll be using public Wi-Fi.
Sounds sketchy.
Exactly. The networks can leave your personal info, like credit card numbers, exposed to hackers.
McAfee's secure VPN lets you browse and bank safely from wherever, whenever. Learn more at McAfee.com/online protection.
All right, listen up, nacho chips. Quiet down, crispy potatoes. This is the moment Velveeta's been preparing you for, and you're not about to crack under pressure. Today's the day to go all in on the drip. Velveeta's Heat and Eat Queso is the MVP of any game day spread, so stick by them, and you'll be golden. Now get out there and make delicious history. No tailgate party is complete without Velveeta.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
And we're back. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you've been paying attention this past weekend, so you know how well Zootopia 2 did at the box office this past weekend. Over $500 million worldwide, to be specific, 556 million in tickets sold globally, whereas here in the States, this Byron Howard, Jared Bush movie sold 156 million worth of admissions. That, just in case you're wondering, second highest gross ever for a movie released in North America over the long Thanksgiving Day weekend. And just in case you're wondering, only Moana 2, which was released in this same window of time back in 2024, did better. It sold 225 million worth of tickets domestically, again, over the long Thanksgiving Day weekend. So how would you like to be the guy at Imagineering who proposed replacing It's Tough to Be a Bug with Zootopia Zoo Better Together now? That man or the woman must look like a genius today. And speaking of looking, a lot of folks have been, who have been visiting Disney's Animal Kingdom since Zootopia Zoo Better Together first opened back on November 7th, have been looking for the hidden Joe Rohde that's supposedly been stashed somewhere in the Tree of Life. I am pleased to report that veteran Imagineer Jim Shull has found him. Joe is hidden in plain sight in those History of Zootopia posters that are in the outdoor queue area for the Tree of Life just before you enter the lobby of the theater. You need to seek out the poster that shows the construction of Zootopia. And towards the back of that image, you will notice two small construction workers just standing there. And take a close look at the construction worker on the right, especially that character's ear. Do you see perhaps an oversized earring? Hey. All right. By the way, if you enjoy these sorts of insights that you get only from Jim Shull, well, on an upcoming edition of his Disney Journey video series over on YouTube. By the way, this will be the episode that posts this coming Friday, December 5th. Mr. Shull will be talking about the upcoming expansion of the Magic Kingdom. More importantly, what you can now see as you roll around the public roads of the Walt Disney World Resort. And I had a kind of a teeny tiny taste of what Mr. Shull will be talking about when I drove around Walt Disney World from November 15th to the 22nd. I was especially fascinated with what was going on at the corner of Seven Seas Drive and Floridian Way. And this is right across from the northwesternmost corner of the Magic Kingdom's parking lot, where they're building a brand new guard shack for the Poly. And this is because come 2026, this is about to become the brand new entrance to this resort hotel. Whereas the old entrance, which is further to the east on Seven Seas Drive, that's then going to become the buses only entrance to the Poly. Work on this project began back in late May, early June of this year, 2025, with the idea that once work is complete, there will then be improved traffic flow for cars and buses through this corner of property. Now, you have to remember that out ahead of the opening of the Island Tower at Disney's Polynesian Villas and Bungalows, that officially opened December 17th of last year, 2024, we saw the monorail station at the Poly being redone. So this reconfiguring of the resort's main entrance, shifting bus traffic to the Poly's original entrance, that sort of thing, is just part of the ongoing reimagining of this resort. And speaking of reimagining, do you remember how back earlier this summer we were told about a retheming of Tron Light Cycle Run, that newish thrill ride at the Magic Kingdom? How starting on September 15th, and for a limited time only, this coaster would replace its signature blue and orange lights with a red and orange color scheme, which was more in tune with Tron Ares, which, by the way, was supposed to open in theaters October 10th. I also, got to remember how this Tron overlay was going to feature music done for the film's soundtrack by Nine Inch Nails and feature a new narration from the Master Control. Well, okay, I guess they weren't kidding when they said limited time run, because when I finally got to ride Tron Light Cycle Run for the first time on my most recent trip to Walt Disney World, I want to say this would have been Tuesday night, November 18th. There was no trace of Tron Ares. The 40 some odd minutes it took me to enter the queue, experience the ride, and then exit, I never saw a bit of red or orange. Now, it's worth noting here that Tron Ares seriously underperformed at the box office. We're talking just 73 million in ticket sales stateside, 68 million overseas, total worldwide gross of 141 million, which, when your movie costs over $200 million, is not a good thing. And look, Hollywood is noted for quickly burying its mistakes. And from what I was told, Disney corporate supposedly reached out to the resort and said, hey, can you turn off the Tron Ares theming? But again, this was done quietly. They didn't really want to make a big deal of it. And I have to ask, is this really the case? Because just today, I saw a video that got posted within the past 24 hours that showed the Tron Ares lighting package up and running for Light Cycle Run. So I've reached out to the person who posted it and just wanted them to clarify. Did you shoot this earlier this fall and just post it, over the past 24 hours? Or, is there some rebellious Walt Disney World employee who maybe turn the Tron Ares stuff back on? Also, I guess, if you didn't see it in theaters, and evidently by the ticket sales, a lot of us didn't, Tron Ares debuts on various digital platforms tomorrow, December 2nd. So, which is a polite way of saying it's probably not all that long before this third Tron movie shows up on Disney+. But anyway, I hope to have a little more info there. Mr. Tess and I love it when Disney Dish listeners reach out and share what they know, which, by the way, brings me to a story I'll be telling after this break, where, thanks to the advice I got from one John T., I finally got into the Grog Grotto, which sort of lived up to the hype. But first, this We all spend this time of year looking for that perfect gift for our loved ones. So let me now save you some time and hopefully a little money by pointing you towards the holiday gift that your loved ones are sure to enjoy. More to the point, we'll display proudly all the year round, and that's Aura frames. Aura makes sleek, easy-to-use digital photo frames, which then make it easy to share memories with your loved ones from anywhere. Seriously, folks, Aura couldn't be easier to use. I mean, I gave one of these things to my mom a few years back, and thanks to the Aura Frames app, well, I was able to regularly upload new photos of my daughter Alice to that particular Aura frame, which my mother greatly enjoyed. She always liked to see what was going on in the lives of her grandkids and great-grandkids. Anyway, the Aura Frames app allows you to connect with that specific frame from wherever you can find a Wi-Fi signal. And since it's just that easy to send a new set of photos to this digital frame, well, that's why so many people typically have their Aura frame prominently displayed in their home. They want to be aware when new images of friends and family are now available for viewing on that dynamic digital device. With the Aura app, you can upload unlimited photos and unlimited video. You can even preload photos on an Aura frame and then wrap it up and place it under the Christmas tree, confident that when your loved one unwraps that particular holiday offering, you'll have gotten them the perfect gift straight out of the box. And remember how I mentioned at the top of this ad I could maybe save you a little money? Well, for a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames, named number 1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code DISH at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code DISH. This deal is exclusive to Disney Dish fans, and Aura frames sell out fast. Order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning the Disney Dish at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. We thank Aura Frames for sponsoring today's show.
The Who's down in Who Newville were making their list, but some didn't know Walmart has the best brands for their gifts.
What about toys? Do they have brands kids have been wanting all year?
Yep, Barbie, Tony's, and Lego. Gifts that will make them all cheer.
Do you mean they have all the brands I adore?
They have Nintendo, Nespresso, Apple, and more.
What about...
So the Who answered questions from friends till they were blue. Each one listened and shouted, from Walmart? Who knew? Shop gifts from top brands for everyone on your list in the Walmart app.
We find Vecna, we end this once and for all. Together.
On December 25th.
We have a plan. It's a bit insane. Everyone in? He knows where we are.
Watch out!
Get ready for one last adventure.
We stay true to ourselves. Stay true to our friends, no matter the cost.
Found you. Stranger Things, Season 5, Volume 2, begins December 25th, only on Netflix.
Running a business means I wear lots of hats. Luckily, when it's time to put on my hiring hat, I can count on LinkedIn to make it easy. I can post a job for free or pay to promote it and get 3 times more qualified candidates. Imagine finding your next great hire in 24 hours. 86% of small businesses do. With LinkedIn, I can also easily share my job with my network. No other job site lets me do that. Post your free job at linkedin.com/achieve. That's linkedin.com/achieve. Terms and conditions apply.
Let's be honest here, people. The holidays can often be an emotionally fraught time of year. I mean, December is traditionally when we all get together with friends and family, which then gives things like sibling rivalry and unresolved past conflicts the opportunity to suddenly come bubbling to the surface again. And if the idea of going home for the holidays makes you feel kind of anxious, well, maybe it's time that you started a brand new holiday tradition, something like, say, chatting with a therapist to finally address the source of this anxiety. And if that's something you might like to try this holiday season, well, please allow me to introduce you to BetterHelp. BetterHelp is that online therapy company established back in 2013 that now offers counseling in the United States and over 200 other countries. With over 32,000 licensed therapists, all of whom follow a strict code of conduct, BetterHelp gives its clients a wide variety of therapeutic services to choose from. Everything from messaging to chat, even audio and video sessions. And it's so easy to get started. BetterHelp does the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. You start out by filling out a brief questionnaire that then helps identify your specific needs and preferences. And if for some reason you're not happy with the therapist that BetterHelp has paired you with, no worries. You can switch to a different therapist at any time for no additional charge. Look, as longtime listeners to this podcast know, when Michelle and I were going through our divorce back in the mid-90s, I was in a pretty dark place. The holidays were especially miserable for me because my daughter Alice was 6,000 miles away. And if it wasn't for therapy, well, I'm not sure how I'd have made it through that tough stretch of years. And BetterHelp can do the same for you. So this December, start a new tradition by taking care of you. Our listeners get 10% off at BetterHelp.com/DisneyDish. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DisneyDish. We thank them for sponsoring today's show. And we're back. So, okay. If you've listened to the Disney Dish before, then you already know that I am a whiny baby man, that I have the sorts of problems that only a privileged white guy has, which in this case is being repeatedly denied entrance to Trader Sam's Grog Grotto since his place first opened up back in May of 2015. Seriously, folks, for more than a decade now. Whenever I tried to get entrance to this tiki bar, I was told by the polite but firm cast member standing at the door, effectively, sorry, fat man, but it's at least a 2-hour-long wait, and I mean, I'll put you on the waiting list, but, you know, if you're not willing to wait, there's always the outdoor patio. And as recently as Tuesday, November 18th, that's when I dropped by the Poly to pick up this year's holiday zombie tiki mug. I got that for Alice's stepdad, Noah. He collects these things, and I was looking for a suitable holiday present for him. Well, that's what happened again. I even followed the suggestion that a lot of Disney Dish listeners had previously reached out and told me to try, which was, you know, tell the person at the door, but there's only one of me. I mean, there's got to be a single open seat at the bar. But the cast member at the door of Trader Sam's Grog Grotto still told me, look, there's no room at the bar for you, fat man. So please make your way to our outdoor patio, and the team there will be happy to sell you a holiday zombie tiki mug. Any consolation? There's seating out there for 82 people, and the seats were full. And by the way, while I was out there, I ran into Jeremiah Good, who's the chief Disney World correspondent for LaughingPlace.com, and I haven't seen Jeremiah, since the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train opened at the Magic Kingdom back in May of 2014. So even though I had been skunked yet again at the entrance to Trader Sam's Grog Grotto, it was great to get the chance to catch up with Jeremiah and his lovely bride. But that said, I was not willing to give up. Not yet, anyway, because as I mentioned earlier in today's show, longtime Disney Dish listener John T. had another piece of advice when it came to gaining entrance to Trader Sam's Grog Grotto, and that was go later. To be specific, this tiki bar at the Poly opens daily at 3 p.m. and then stays open nightly till midnight. Though, by the way, after 8 p.m., Trader Sam's Grog Grotto becomes a somewhat more restricted space. It's only open to guests 21 years or older. Anyway, John T's strategy was simple. Go closer to closing. And almost certainly a single seat will open up at the bar as it gets closer to the Grog Grotto's closing time. And you'll then finally gain entrance to this fabled tiki bar. So that was the plan. I'd make my way to the Poly sometime after 9 on Friday, November 21st, my last night in town. I was going to park my car in the lot at that hotel and then hike all the way back to Trader Sam's Grog Grotto, whereupon, starting at 10 p.m., I would just wait for a seat to open up at that tiki bar. And by the way, this still almost didn't happen. And again, this was largely because, well, the 21st was the Friday before Thanksgiving, and all of the resort hotels in the Magic Kingdom area at Walt Disney World then put out signs to the effect that said, unless you are a guest registered to stay at this hotel or have a confirmed dining reservation at this resort, there are no parking spots available. Which that meant I had to drive around to the Magic Kingdom parking lot and, hop the tram. And once I got to the TTC, well, in theory, I should have been able to grab a monorail over to the Poly, but the Resort Loop monorail seemed to be having issues the entire time I was in town. I cannot tell you the number of times I rode that specific monorail route this trip, only to then be told that our trip would be delayed due to mechanical issues. So does anybody know what specifically is going on with the resort monorail loop? Because, again, I saw a lot of angry people walking back down the ramp at the Magic Kingdom to then grab the launches over to the Poly and the Grand Flow. Anyway, wound up hiking to the Poly from the TTC, arrived at the entrance of Trader Sam's, only to be told that my pal, Nate the Great, was already inside, seated at the bar, and better yet, he was holding a place for me. I got to tell you, folks, we lucked out. When Nate got there, he agreed to meet me for drinks before I left town. He shows up before 10, and it turns out the cast member who's manning the door is an old friend of his, and he immediately waved Nate in. And so, long story short, while I'm pretty sure if I had been patient, John T's strategy would eventually have worked, but then again, it also pays to know somebody. Now, the big question. Was Trader Sam's Grog Grotto worth a decade's worth of effort to finally gain entrance? Well, let me say something that I think longtime Disney World employees will appreciate. While it's no big bamboo, the Grog Grotto is pretty nifty. By the way, how many of you out there remember the Big Bamboo, that cast member only hangout down at Kissimmee off of Arlo Bronson Highway, opened back in 1977. When I lived in the area in the early to mid 90s, I would visit, check in with friends there. And it was wonderful. I mean, the Big Bamboo had this absolutely amazing collection of Disney name tags over the bar. And now, mind you, I mean, kind of rough. There were no tables. There were those giant wooden roll, those wooden things that they roll cable on. Those were the tables. That's what you'd set your drinks on. And sadly, it was Hurricane Charlie back in August of 2004 that ultimately did the Big Bamboo in. I mean, it's important to remember this was really a track house, that somebody had turned into a bar, and Charlie did significant damage to the building. And while the owners planned on repairing and reopening the Big Bamboo, 2005 there was a fire that effectively leveled the building. But all right. Anyway, back to Trader Sam's Grog Grotto. Just like Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar, which opened at the Disneyland Hotel in Anaheim back in May of 2011, the Grog Grotto is loaded floor to ceiling with all sorts of cool Disney-related memorabilia. And I did get to experience Oa coming to life. Likewise, the 20,000 League show. These in-house entertainments are performed by the Grog Grotto's bartenders and servers when guests order specific beverages. And again, tiny space, seating for 50 to 51. before 8 p.m., it's you got a kid with you. Two of you can squeeze in a chair. You get the idea. And as I mentioned earlier, there's seating for an additional 82 out on the patio. Interesting to do this. Finally get into Trader Sam's Grog Grotto. The very same week that Len, Jim Shull, and I got to experience the Beak and Barrel, that new Pirates-themed bar that opened at the Magic Kingdom back on August 29th. There's interesting parallels between these two lounges. The Beak and Barrel, also heavily themed, also sells a lot of rum drinks. A somewhat larger capacity, 154 people if everybody is seated, and I guess if a certain amount of people are standing, you can get 197 in there. I gotta say, and your mileage may vary, but I think that given the effort that's involved to gain entrance to both Trader Sam's Grog Grotto and the Beak and Barrel, they are both worth visiting once, especially if you're into collectibles. I mean, for example, got one of those Pirate Skull mugs from my friend Angela, who's a huge Pirates of the Caribbean fan. By the way, those things, as of right now anyway, are stamped first edition, and they come when you order a Plunderer's Punch at the Beak and Barrel. And by the way, that beverage costs $46 a piece, but again, you get the mug. And also, while I was visiting the inside of Trader Sam's Grog Grotto, I have to admit I sprang for another souvenir tiki mug for Alice's stepdad. This one was the one that I guess was originally released back around Halloween. It features the witch from Snow White on one side and the evil queen on the other. And this one also kind of pricey, $75, but came with an apple in the brew cocktail. Gotta say, I'm not sure now that I need to go back, at least to the inside of Trader Sam's. Kind of done it. But I also have to tell you, I kind of feel the same way about the Perch, which is the brand new bar in the lobby of the Grand Floridian Resort and Spa. This opened back on November 10th. During this trip, I actually dropped by there and had a Floridian 75 while I was checking the place out. That's a beverage made with Ford's Gin, Florida Citrus Cordial, and lemon, topped with Tattinger's La Francaise Brut Champagne, $22 a glass. I mean, the Perch is nicely done. Its design echoes that large bird cage, which used to sit on the other side of the Grand Flo's lobby. That's what this bar replaced. And the Perch has lovely bits of stained glass, elegant woodwork, herringbone tile, but it comes at a price. And I want to stress here the Grand Flo's Christmas tree, all 4 stories of it is now up. And just a brief aside, back in the mid-1990s, I actually once helped to erect the Grand Flo's Christmas tree one year. I got hired by an outside contractor, and what we all did is we basically waited for all the guests to come back to the hotel and go to bed, and then we hauled all the pieces into place, and between midnight and 6 a.m., we got everything in that tree erected right there in the lobby. And what was kind of interesting, though, is that the entire time we were doing this, we would look up and, 3-4 floors up, there were folks there dressed in their pajamas, looking down over the rail as we worked to erect the Christmas tree. And what we were told by the night staff at the hotel, it's like, yeah, they do that. In fact, there were people who actually book their stays here at the Grand Floridian deliberately to be here the night the Christmas tree goes up. It's their holiday tradition. And speaking of holiday traditions, the Grand Floridian's Gingerbread House, which, by the way, debuted at this hotel back in November of '99, was not built this year. And what we've been told is that was largely because for the longest time, the resort's lobby was behind temporary construction fences for much of 2025. And this, I'm not going to lie, has led to a lot of complaining by both the hotel staff and Orlando locals who are missing the gingerbread house, this area holiday tradition, and it's not happening for the first time in 25 years. Now, Disney's PR team is quick to point out, well, there are 5 other gingerbread things of size on property right now. There is, of course, the gingerbread castle in the Contemporary. There's the gingerbread log cabin over at Wilderness Lodge. There are the gingerbread animals in the lobby of the Animal Kingdom Lodge. The Boardwalk Inn, kind of a self-referential thing. They have a gingerbread version of the Boardwalk Deli restaurant. And, of course, over at the Beach Club, they have their gingerbread carousel. Now, given where the perch is placed in the lobby of the Grand Flo, I guess there has been some discussion about, well, how does the gingerbread house come back? It's going to have to be a different configuration and maybe smaller, maybe in a different place in the lobby. But what I'm also hearing is, this may not return at all. And again, folks, we are in December now, so it's not no negative November anymore. It's just cold, hard facts December. So, just putting this out there. If there is a Disney Dish listener who has some additional information on what's going on with the gingerbread house at the Grand Flo, or for that matter, if there's one of you out there that knows a bit more about what's going on with the Tron Aries programming for Tron Light Cycle Run at the Magic Kingdom, has that, in fact, been turned off? And, well, just putting those 2 questions out there. And I guess for now, that's going to do it for this week's show. And if you liked what you heard today on Disney Dish, well, you can support this show by subscribing over at patreon.com/Jim Hill Media, where we've been posting exclusive shows. In fact, we've got a walkthrough of Disney's Animal Kingdom that we recorded last month that should post shortly. And if you like listening to me yammer, you can find more of me over at JimHillMedia.com and more of Len at TuringPlans.com. Oh, and Chris Cox and I have a brand new The Case For debuting later this week on Wednesday, December 3rd, where we're going to look at the history of butterbeer at the theme parks. Anyway, we are produced spectacularly by Eric Hersey and David Gray, who will be going down Maine in the coming week so they can then help out with the erecting of the buoy tree, which is just what it sounds like, folks. A Christmas tree made entirely out of those buoys that bob above the surface of the water just below a lobster pot. The buoy tree, by the way, is a holiday favorite at Bar Harbor's Village Holidays Celebration and Sale, which officially gets underway this Friday, December 5th. Right down there by the harbor. And while Eric and David are doing that, please go on iTunes and rate our show and tell us what you'd like to hear next. And for Len, this is Jim, and we will see you on the next show.